The morning began like any other, with the ringing of the iron bell that echoed through the vast compound. The children hurriedly dressed in their freshly pressed uniforms and gathered in the courtyard for the assembly. But beneath the routine, something felt off. The cold wind carried a weight that pressed down on their young shoulders, as though the school itself was holding its breath. The senior students stood apart, their postures proud and unyielding. Their sharp gazes scanned the crowd like predators searching for prey. The new children, huddled together in silence, avoided eye contact. This wasn't just a school, it was a place where power reigned, and the weak were left to fend for themselves. That afternoon, in the vast, dimly lit dining hall, the bullying began. As the children lined up for their meals, one of the senior boys, tall and imposing, stepped in front of the youngest child in the line. He smacked, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Newbies at last," he declared, his tone dripping with authority. He grabbed the child's plate and handed it to one of his friends, who laughed cruelly. The other students laughed too, some nervously, others with genuine malice. The newcomers exchanged glances, their fear unspoken but palpable. Jide, the eldest of the siblings, clenched his fist but said nothing. He knew better than to challenge a senior on his first week. At night, the whispers in the dormitory grew louder. "The seniors run this place," one of the younger students told them in hushed tones. "Don't cross them, or you'll regret it." "But why doesn't anyone stop them?" Jide asked, his voice low but angry. The student shrugged, his eyes darting nervously to the door. "The teachers don't care. And if they do, they are afraid to." Over the next few days, the children began to notice strange things about the school. The chapel, which should have been a place of peace, felt suffocating during the morning prayers. The hymns, though sung in unison, lacked any warmth or spirit. The students recited the words robotically, their faces blank, as though their souls were absent. One evening, during study time, Jide noticed a group of students slip out of the library. Curious, he quietly followed them, staying in the shadows to avoid detection. They moved quickly and deliberately, making their way toward an old, abandoned building at the far end of the compound. The door creaked open, and they disappeared inside. Jide hesitated, his instinct screaming at him to turn back. But something about their secrecy gnawed at his curiosity. He edged closer, peering through a crack in the wooden door. What he saw made his blood run cold. Inside, a group of students sat in a circle, their faces illuminated by the flickering flame of a single candle. Strange symbols were drawn on the floor with chalk, and one of the seniors, his eyes dark and unreadable, stood in the center. He chanted softly, his voice low and rhythmic, as the others watched in eerie silence. Jide stumbled back, his heart racing. He ran to the dormitory, his mind racing with questions. What had he just witnessed? And why was no one talking about it? The following day, the atmosphere in the school grew even heavier. The teachers seemed distracted, their smiles strained and their voices hollow. During a math lesson, the teacher suddenly stopped mid-sentence, his eyes glazing over as if he'd forgotten where he was. The students sat in awkward silence until he snapped out of it and resumed the lesson as though nothing had happened. During break time, one of the siblings overheard two teachers speaking in hushed tones near the staff room. "We need to do something," one of them whispered. "It's getting worse." The other shook her head. "We can't. You've seen what happens to people who try to interfere." By the end of the week, the children began to realize that St. Augustine's was not just a school. It was a place where fear ruled, where power was wielded in shadows, and where evil had taken root. The strange rituals, the lifeless prayers, and the bullying weren't just isolated incidents, they were pieces of a larger, darker puzzle. As the siblings lay awake that night, listening to the faint whispers that seemed to drift through the walls, they made a silent promise to each other. Whatever was happening in this school, they would face it together. But even they couldn't imagine the battles that lay ahead.